Yeah, no, thank you very much. By extension, I also want to extend my condolences to the family, friends and relatives, as well as the entire ANC community. Indeed, it is true that we had our in and outs with the former chairperson by that time, who happened to be the deputy president of the country. I want to contextualize this by saying at no point in the history of the ANC is the idea of save ANC more relevant than now. Probably before we even spoke about it in 2015 and 2016, every member, whether a card-carrying member, whether, an ordinary voter, the wish is that we need a Superman to actually save the ANC from where it is now. So DD, within that context, because it must be understood that when Jesus Christ said, I send you as sheep amongst wolves, you must therefore be wise as a serpent and as tender-hearted as a dove. It must be understood within that context that the answer to that, it's not in the thesis, nor the antithesis, but in the synthesis that reconciles the two. That was DD Mabuza. DD Mabuza, the politician, DD Mabuza, the comrade, DD Mabuza, the leader. So he understood that indeed when we were waging that campaign, we were not necessarily personal, but we were organizational, in the sense that from there, he actually realized, the substance and the truth of what we are advancing or championing at that time, to an extent that he called me to his residence because we were very close. In 1999, I became his chief of staff. And from that time onwards, we were together when he was sent to Parliament in Cape Town. I kept the home fires burning by mobilizing the structures of the ANC towards building the kind of unity that we're advocating in 2015 when we realized that he has actually departed from that. And over and above that, we must understand that the leader has got his own strengths and weaknesses. Most probably, during that time when we were waging the campaign, we realized that one of his weaknesses was that he surrounded himself with people who did not share his vision of the unity that we started with. To an extent that you would recall that when he wanted to assume the second term, his own province, the very same people that he actually assisted to ascend to the throne, did not support him. So I want to say, within the context again of DD as a leader, because I want to believe a leader has got to embrace six components. That is the ability to influence. One, the ability to inspire. The person must have passion, vision, conviction, as well as purpose. So DD had all those, components of being an effective leader.
Yeah. Make us understand what was problematic about his leadership to an extent, because yes, he could have all of these strengths that you mentioned, but what was his weakness? And I'm going to point to one. Was him consolidating power in the province when he was leader of Mpumalanga, premier of Mpumalanga. Was his problem the centralization of power? And if indeed that is your answer, what cured this ill at the end?
Yeah, one can say that is one aspect that actually culminated into that kind of a situation. Like, for example, as I've said before, he was a great influencer. He had the ability to influence, which is one critical element a leader should embrace. You remember, DD played a critical role in Polokwane to start with, as an influencer, to such an extent that during that era, Mpumalanga saw a legion of deputy ministers, which was an advantage to our side. And again, through his influence leading up to Nazareth, pronouncing the Unity Project, which I strongly believe is derived from the criticism that we actually leveled against him as Save ANC, to say we need to unite the province, we need to ensure that we align ourselves with the character of the ANC, and to ensure that we don't gatekeep, we don't practice factionalism, but we unite the ANC. So in a way, because I remember in the stadium at Matafe, where the team, the Premier League was there, they were expecting him to pronounce himself as to who he was supporting. So he kept on saying unity, unity, unity. So he played a role in realizing when we came to Nazareth that no, the trajectory should change now. Because one wonders where would the ANC be had we followed that trend that we actually avoided by, electing the current president. I think would not be where we are, despite all the shortcomings that we have currently. But the situation, it would have added deeper darkness to a night that was already devoid of stars.
And speaking about that sky, which at this point it's a complicated tableau. You talked about at the very beginning the ANC needing unity more than ever. Yes. And we're thinking as South Africans, not only internally or selfishly as part of the ANC, but as South Africans who want to live in a country where things are transparent, where there are no backroom deals, there is no, there aren't any sort of other plots that are unfolding behind the scenes. General Mkwanazi's briefing this weekend has certainly thrown the cat amongst the pigeons in a way. We're expecting the president to take us into his confidence tomorrow evening or on Sunday evening. How do you see, let's go deeper into that concept that you introduced at the very beginning, the ANC now having to answer questions about its own deployees in government being embroiled, or these allegations being really, really serious?
It's just unfortunate because this exerts a lot of pressure to the president, which pressure is really unnecessary, especially if the leaders of the ANC are found to be embroiled in such scandals. That is what one wants to say. Recently, we had issues around education. It was a minister coming from the ANC. These revelations by Mkwanazi have actually paralyzed all of us. A minister coming from the ANC with all these allegations. I'm not saying it's true, but come I tell you, this is actually assisting in depleting the trust account, because the people no longer trust the leadership of the ANC. Now the president will be at pain to explain as to how is he going to deal with this particular kind of a situation. The DA will come, for example, and say, you have dismissed our deputy minister on an account of having gone overseas without a permission. But what are you saying about 1, 2? So that is why I am saying, as the basis of the argument, unity must begin with the ANC itself.
Isn't that the problem though, Peter? That everything at times, or when times get difficult in the country, Iman, you remember the criticism against the former ANC president and leader of the country, Jacob Zuma, who no longer is part of the ANC today. It was to say the ANC comes first and then the country. How does President Ramaphosa earn the trust of the people of South Africa at this moment? Without prioritizing the ANC, because I like how you prefaced this by saying you have fired the DA deputy minister. Show spine and show that you can go after your own as well.
Yeah, it's true. You see, I like President Ramaphosa's style of leadership because he does not rush things. But at the same time, you must understand how big the ANC as an organization is. And, you know, quite a number of consultative, you know, processes that he has to undertake. But I'm confident because he has actually prioritized this matter. Like he did when there was COVID. He used to bring South Africans together. Like now, how he treats this security matter. I think it's giving it the agency it deserves by saying he wants to take all of us into confidence and he wants to have a meeting, or he wants to address us on Sunday. So we'll hear from him because I believe in his capacity to lead. Because every epoch, it must be understood that it's different from the others. It's actually leading the ANC during a very difficult time.
You have such a beautiful turn of phrase, Peter, and as somebody who also likes reading and likes English, I would be interested in the way that you would characterize, in using prose, the ANC right now. How would you describe it right now?
Well, like any other organization, we've got our own ups and downs. Be that as it may, there is an initiative to renew the ANC. And we are trying as much as we can to go back to the basics, to adhere to what the leadership has actually pronounced in terms of dealing with the ills that are confronting the ANC. I can only hope that things will turn, you know, the right way, because even in the Bible, I like the Bible because I read it. You are transformed by the renewing of your mind. So it is the mind first that must change, begin to say we can't do things the way we have been doing things and expect same results, you see. Because to an extent, this has actually created a belief system of some kind that people have been practicing parasitism, using the ANC for their own benefits and so on. That has actually created that belief system. But to break that belief system, we have to change the way we think.
Peter, we have to wrap the conversation. How do South Africans remember the former Deputy President, David Mabuza, and perhaps keenly so, how do the people of Mpumalanga remember David Mabuza?
May I just add on to yours? I'm just going to embroider onto Xoli's, because I was thinking about what you said about owing DD Mabuza a lot. A last conversation that you might have had with him, what was that about as well?
Yeah, the last conversation that I had with him is when he was no longer Deputy President of the country. He called me to his residence in Barberton. Then he told me that, he has left government, but he loves the ANC and he wants to make a meaningful contribution in the life of the ANC. And he went as far as telling me that day that all along, all those things that I've been raising were true. And I said to him, thank you very much. And the people of the province will remember him, as I've said. You combine the two, the thesis and the antithesis. The tender-heartedness that he had, that was attested yesterday when we're at the memorial service, which I will not repeat. But the sharpness of a snake, you know a snake can camouflage. You know a snake has got patience. DD had patience. I can prove that to you.